Hi, welcome. My name is Mara Grzanek. I am the Family Engagement Coordinator at Stevenson High School, and I welcome you to another 15-minute short. Today, we're going to talk about how can you, as the adult in your teen's life, support strong study habits. When we think about school, we think about what did we do as students, and many of us went to school in completely different environments than our students are going in. And so when you think about yourself as a student, how would you manage high school and all of the responsibilities and what you deal with today? What would your life be like in terms of the classes that we take and how we manage our lives and how we manage our co-curriculars? Because when our students, our teens, we know that their brains are developing still. And so now is a really great time for us as the adults in their lives to help them prioritize what they're doing and think about, what do I have to do? How do I manage it? What resources do I have? And that is not something that comes natural to students. And so we as adults can help our students think about what are their lives whole, and how do they break those down so that they can meet the commitments they need to. The first thing they need to do is think about, what kind of time do I need to get my stuff done? And if your teens are like most humans, we underestimate the amount of time that we think we need for something. So we have to schedule the time to get our work done. That can fluctuate a lot during the days. How much do I have? We're between seasons right now. So you could find that your teen has a little bit more time now because they're finishing one co-curricular. If they're ramping up to another one, they're going to have less time. But if we can be consistent with our habits, if we can be consistent with how do we spend our time, then we're more likely to do it. And they're more likely to develop that habit as they move on to a post-secondary, like beyond high school education setting. So it's really important to have a calendar and some kind of place to document what you need to get done. Some people like to use like Google Calendar or something digital, so it sets reminders, but that can be hard when you have 7 things to do and there's lots of tasks. It may take more time to put it in a calendar than to just write the task. So what may be best is to schedule a block of time in a calendar consistently so that you know you don't schedule anything else during that time. And then within that block of time, do something like, I don't know, in a planner or something like that. You can plan out, if you have a block of time, you can think about what needs to get done. And you can help your student think about on a daily basis, they need to think what needs to get done, what can I get done quickly and just get it done, be finished with it, and what is due the soonest. So the soonest may be a priority, but what needs to be done and can get done quickly, that may be a conversation that you and your teen have around what are they getting done? Because the idea is that you have ongoing conversations with your teen about how are they managing their time, so they learn to build up the habits of mind that they need to carry on past high school when you may not be there, so that they can get their work done, right? We, as the adults in our teens' life, are building habits for them that they will take on with them when they're independent. So things that you can say in a mentor type role, not in a manager type role. How much do you have to get done? Do you think the amount of time you've allotted is enough? And what are those things that you're going to do? So one of the things that you would say is maybe each week you would say, generally how much work you have each day, and are there any long-term projects that they need to get done? Because the idea of talking about this is not because, first of all, you want to make the process of figuring it out really clear for your students because they're learning this skill. Your team is learning the skill of managing their time, managing school, managing co-curriculars, managing any other expectations that you may have for them. And in talking about that, maybe on a weekly basis, you are helping with their stress management so that things don't come at them at the last minute, right? We have to remember our teens' mental health. And so we have to remember, how can we help them stay motivated while completing projects, and work, but stay healthy in that they build in breaks, that they don't leave long-term assignments until the last minute. Now, that's not to say that if you have these conversations, it's going to be fail-safe and they're going to be wonderful and it's going to be terrific. That's not to say that. Remember, we're building a skill. Think of it like riding a bike. They're going to fall off the bike and you got to get back on. It's okay. You can do this. You can do this. And build in that sort of cheerleader on the backside of it, because we want to help them understand that it takes time. You have to organize your time. And when you're not in my house and you're in a situation that's not as prescribed in terms of time, like high school is, like college, you go to class. When you're not in class, you don't have anything to do. So they need to learn, like, I need to build in blocks of time when I'm studying, and I can't just let it be haphazard. So what kind of tools are there to help our students know what is due? Two things. One is Canvas. Talk about Canvas all the time. The other is the interactive report card. So Canvas is really good for those to check out each week for upcoming assignments. What is due? Along that right-hand column is always what is coming up. What are the assignments that are coming up? Take a look in Canvas, take a look at what's happening in Canvas, and talk about what are the assignments that are coming up. What is happening? What is your students studying? What kind of resources are there to help? The other thing is the interactive report card, where you will be able to see formative, those are checks along the way, and summative, end of the unit, learning checks to see, has your student completed all their work? What is the work they've completed? And is there anything that's missing? And then you can have the conversation around, what can I do for you? How can I support you in helping you get this done? So what communication can you support your student in having? It's not your communication. Remember, you're building the habit. You're building the skills. So what you're doing is you're sitting next to them and they are writing to the teacher and saying, hey, I thought I handed this in. They are writing to the tutor and saying, hey, do you have time to meet with me? They are the ones that are doing it, but you are the one that's sitting on the side, helping them build those skills, right? Because the idea is that at the end of 4 years, they have gotten enough experience that they are familiar enough with getting those skills done, that they can then find how to get that kind of support when they are in a post-secondary or in a college or training, or if they're an apprentice, whatever they're learning in that situation, to get the support that they need as they're moving along. So when you have like a larger assignment, so now we are rolling into the last part of our semester. Can you believe that it is almost November? Monday will be November, and in the middle of December, our semester ends. So we're in that sort of long-term planning. This is a really good time for you to sit down with your team and say, hey, let's look at Canvas, let's look at upcoming projects. And if there's larger projects, how can you help your team break those down into smaller, manageable pieces that will help them with their stress level? And what can you do? What's a to-do list for a larger assignment? Would calendar reminders help? Is it good to have a visual reminder for your team? Is it good to take a piece of paper and, make weeks out of the calendar and say, this is what's due at this time? You don't have to go out and buy a calendar. You can take a piece of paper, fold it into 4, fold it into 5 lengthwise, and you have a calendar. But how can you divide up a schedule that needs to be done and help your team stay on that schedule. That's a suggested schedule for a long-term assignment, right? Unless it's due tomorrow, there can be some flexibility, and you can give them the grace of saying, okay, I understand you got a lot done. What would you like to do? What are you going to move around? How are you going to try to make those expectations and fulfill those responsibilities, just like we do at work? If we don't get everything done, we don't, for the most part, many of us don't sit at our desk. We say, okay, tomorrow, first thing, I'm going to work on this one thing. So you look at the assignments in terms of what's due, what's it going to take to complete the assignment, and how realistic can I be about getting that done? So that's the plan, right? What's due? What is it going to take to get it done? And how would I break it down? And what's realistic for me? And you know your team. It's a really great opportunity for you to have a really explicit conversation with your team. Another thing we really want to talk about is, because our teens are changing so much and developmentally everything is coming at them, we really want to make sure that they have good self-regulation skills. So they know how to resist temptations or distractions. They know how to manage those emotions of, oh my gosh, this is due tomorrow and I don't think I can do it. Or, oh my gosh, I'm really, really a study person and I really need quiet space. You need to have that conversation. You don't need to. It's a good opportunity for you to have a conversation with your teen around what works for them. What works for them? What works for them as a freshman may not be the same thing that works for them as a senior. So it may be a changing dynamic for them. But how do they work well? What is the best kind of space they work in? Do they use things like Canvas that we were talking about and the interactive report card regularly? Are they up to date with what needs to be done? When you're talking with your team in a calm, not when something's due right away and there's a lot of stress in the house. We all know what those times feel like. But in a calm time, what works best for them? When they're done with an assignment or they've gotten through, like at the end of a 6-week grading period, oh, that would be like now. If you think about chunking a semester into thirds, right? Your first third is sort of figuring things out. Your second third is sort of like getting into the deep of it. Now we're kind of getting into the end of the semester. We're kind of facing toward, oh, well, this class is kind of we've been in it for a long time. What's working for them? What's not working for them? How could they use their time or tutors or resources differently? Where do they find distractions? Do they all get together and study around a central table in someone's home, but all they're really doing is they're on some social media? Then if that's probably super important time for your teen because they're so drawn to their teens. But then how can they find time elsewhere to reinforce and do some of that independent study time that they need? Also remember, there's habits around studying. Take time off. You're not sitting in a seat the whole time for 5 hours just working on it. Get up every so often, have a glass of water, make sure you're physically healthy and you're taking a break. Find time for yourself. If you've been studying if it's a Saturday and your teen is sitting there studying for 3 hours, tell them, take a break, take 15 minutes, listen to music, walk around the house, play with the dog, do whatever it is, because you want to make sure that there's a healthy balance between doing the work and maintaining good mental health. So what I'm trying to say here is your role in study habits goes beyond, did you get your homework done? It goes beyond how you do it. What you do and the habits that you foster will help your student as they move into being independent people. And I say this all the time. What you're doing at home, your skill building at home, you can't do the work for them. You can't do, well, maybe you can, I don't know. But I certainly can't do some of the classes that my kids took. And I didn't know the languages that they learned. I didn't know, you know what I mean? It's just different. and learning is different. So you can't do that for your students, but what can you do? How can you be a support? You can be that person that reflects back on them on how are you doing this? What are the skills you're learning? So you can help them talk about their academics on a weekly basis. Just think about, what are you studying? What are you working on? How are they assessing it? Is that a formative assessment or a summative assessment? Not like a grilling, but just a conversation with them so that they can start thinking about how are they managing their academics, right? You're building the skills that they will take with them as they move beyond you into college or post-secondary or trade skill or into an apprenticeship, whatever it is. How are they doing their assignments, breaking down larger assignments, talking about, you can ask them, hey, I don't understand that this evidence-based grading. I don't get it. Because your students will have goals. Every student has goals. They're not just passively in school. And if they are, maybe talk to them. They're choosing their classes right now. Talk to them about what are your goals for your classes. Let's talk about your future, those questions. It asks for reflection around, what are you doing? This is a really great time for you to talk to them and keep things into perspective. There's a lot of tools and strategies that your students can learn. And over the course of the 4 years that they're here, have conversations with them about, what are your long-term goals? Or what do you think you want to do? How do you think this might fit into what you want to do after you're out of high school? So when you have those conversations, then at the end of a semester, you can have the conversation around, how well did that meet your goals? What do you think you still want to be doing? How have your interests changed or developed? Or how are they morphing into things that really support what you like to do? And remember, it's your students' goals, your students' ideas, what they want to do, their development, because we want them to be able to have the grit and the tenacity to get through things. But what we have to remember is that's something that they are going to grow and they are going to develop, and they are going to, like we said about riding a bike, they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to get the work done. They're going to find themselves in that, 1 o'clock in the morning or difficult situation where it just feels like there's so much pressure. But with your help, they can navigate through that. And then they will know, hey, I did this before. I have the tenacity. I have the perseverance. I have the grit to do it again. And as they show themselves that they can do it, they can do it, they can do it, they take all those skills with them beyond high school. I want to thank you for joining me today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to manage stress, right? We have been in school now for a few months, couple months, full months. Will have been in school for most of half of August, all of September, all of October, right? So stress levels could be getting high. You may find chippy, short answered questions from you. And how can you, as the adult in your student's life, help them manage stress? I thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. And if you ever have any questions or comments, please contact me. I'm Mara Grzanek from Stevenson High School, and I'm the Family Engagement Coordinator. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.